Good evening and welcome to All for United on what has been a bit of a roller coaster day, I think it's fair to say. So there's a lot for us to get through today, and we've got a full panel. So let's get into it. Sean, how are we doing, buddy? It's our first show together. Hope you're well.
Yeah, not too bad. It's nice to finally meet you. I've heard a few bits about the channel, and nice to meet you.
Lovely, you too, pal. Matt, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm good. Like I say, it's nice to be on with Sean last week, the first show, and also we're on the second week running. So yeah, it's good and nice to see you back, Beanie, as well. Also, sorry last week, but yeah, good to have you back.
Yeah, I was struggling with the weather last week. I was struggling getting back from Birmingham in the snow. It was an absolute nightmare. Ben, how's it going? A positive result for United. How are we feeling? You on mute? Are you on mute again, Ben? Yeah, we still can't hear you. I think that might be your end, buddy.
Hello.
There we go. There we go.
Show, isn't it?
Should we do that again? How's it going?
Yeah, good to get a win, isn't it? Makes the weekend all the better. So, yeah.
It really does. It really does. Like I say, it's the first show for me that I've done in ages that the result's positive. So I'm buzzing for that. But as always with the show, we're going to start right from the start. So we're going to forget everything that happened, and we're going to try and talk about the lineup and the players without knowing what happened after. It'd be difficult, but give it a go. We'll go to you first, Sean. The starting lineup. Two changes from the Liverpool game. Obviously, Bayindir came in for Onana. Garner came in for Ahmad. What did you think of the lineup when you saw it?
Not too surprised, really, because I heard rumours that Ahmad had obviously picked up a slight knock, but nothing too serious. So I weren't surprised to see Garnacho come in. As for goalkeeper, I think Amorim just stuck to the traditions of the FA Cup from obviously Ten Hag before he left, because he obviously weren't playing Onana and put Bayindir in there. So I weren't too surprised at the lineup, really.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, he told us in his press conference, didn't he, Matt? He told us that Bayindir was going to start. Now, for me, it was possibly a little bit of a risky move, given the fact that Arsenal are heavy on set pieces, aren't they? They cover the keeper, they make it difficult. How did you feel about Bayindir?
I think after the Spurs game, I think he last played in. Obviously, you've seen the game he was a little bit shaky, but I suppose you've got to give him the chance, benefit of the doubt. He doesn't really play very often. So obviously that match time is obviously not there with him. But I wasn't overly surprised to see him start like Shaw. So it's nice to see that he's sticking with a set goalkeeper for the cup competitions, and hopefully we'll continue to see that throughout the rest of the FA Cup, hopefully. But yeah, he had a solid game, a lot better than his last performance. And also got man of the match. So yeah, all in all, can't really complain.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it couldn't have gone any better for him, could it really? What about you, Ben? What do you think with Bayindir? Do you think it's important that you give him game time, or should you be sticking with the more regular goalkeeper for a bit of consistency in that back line? How do you feel about the goalkeepers?
I quite like the idea of giving a second keeper like a run in one of the cup competitions. I think it's just an easy. If you set out at the start of the season and you say to Bayindir, look, you're probably not going to play in the Premier League, but you're guaranteed to play every FA Cup game that we're in, whatever it might be. I don't think that's a bad thing, to be honest. Ultimately, looking back at the game, I think we can all say, he's had a great game. I was a little bit worried initially, but given the game that he played last time and the struggles that we had from set pieces, but ultimately, I think he has to play. They're the only games he's going to get his opportunities in.
Yeah, well, we'll touch back on Bayindir a couple of times, I'm sure, throughout the show, as he had a couple of moments, didn't he, today? But talk to me about the first half, Sean. It wasn't the greatest half of football, I think it's fair to say, from both teams. But how did you see it from a United point of view? What was your thinking of how we set up, how we played?
I think at the start of the game, I thought our pressing intent in the first 5 or 6 minutes or so, I thought we pressed them really well. I could definitely see that Amorim's worked on the pressing side of things and the defensive structure side of things for this week in preparation for the game. But yeah, I think, like I said, the pressing were good to start with, and then we kind of dropped off a little bit and allowed them to play. But we did look a bit of a threat when we got the ball back. I think we just lacked that. I don't know. Like Hoyland, sometimes I just found he tends to come short too much, and rather than trying to make a run in behind and give like the wider players or the centre midfielders that option to possibly play over the back line and try and create a goal that way. But I think we had pretty solid first half. I don't think it was a terrible first half. I think it was quite in control of the game up until half time, really.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair, isn't it, Matt? I thought we limited Arsenal to not a huge amount, really. I know they had the offside goal. But how did you feel that United fared in that first half?
I think the best way to describe it, probably a bit of a slow burner. I feel like both teams at the start were sort of filling each other out a little bit. Obviously, you don't know what sort of Arsenal team to expect. But then on the flip side, you didn't know what United team you were going to get. Obviously, coming off the back of the Liverpool result last weekend, to be honest. But yeah, like I say, the pressing was one thing that stood out. Like I say, the first 10 minutes or so, obviously they started pressing. Then it sort of petered out a little bit after the first 10 minutes, which it generally tends to do. But I think the general play first half, there wasn't much chances created from either side. I wouldn't really say. I think 0-0 at half time was probably the right scoreline. So yeah, not overly surprised for how we started the game. It was just a bit disappointing that we sort of dropped off a little bit, and the first half just seemed to just fly by, didn't it? It just seemed to get away from us a little bit, and it was half time before you knew it.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Like I say, Ben, the first half, I think Matt and Sean are pretty much spot on. I think we kept them to very little. It was a bit drab, wasn't it? Really, I got an Arsenal pal that's quite a good friend, and he was saying pretty similar. Like they didn't really create much, and was a bit disappointed with their creation of chances. But Hoyland, for me, Ben, I don't know how best to say it. He's starting to get on my nerves a bit. Like he's not doing enough for me. Like, fair enough, don't get me wrong, he's up against two very, very good centre backs today. Gabriel Saliba, probably the best pairing in European football, arguably. But he's got to do better, hasn't he? He's got to hold it up better when the ball comes to him. He's got to just, like Sean says, he's got to hold it so the wide lads can get involved, and otherwise it's just pumping up to him and pumping back, isn't it? He's got to do better, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'm caught in two minds, to be honest, because I saw a tweet the other day saying that at Hoyland's age, and it listed like a few different strikers like Lewandowski, Zlatan, all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And that kind of puts it into perspective that he is still a young lad. But then also, I think there's just times where he tried at one point where it came into him today, came into his feet, and he tried to do like behind his legs, whatever it was. When ultimately he could just drop it off to Bruno or Garnacho or Ahmad if he's there. So I think it's just having a bit of common sense in terms of where the game's going. But we don't help him as well. I think when we're playing out, if you watch, it goes to either outside centre half, and if they go to like a Delo or a Mazraoui, if they're getting pressed at all, they tend to just kind of hook it around the corner to Hoyland.
Yeah.
Like you say, that's no good again. If you've got Saliba coming through the back here, Van Dijk last week, he's going to struggle ultimately. He's a young lad.
Yeah, I think Box has said it perfectly there. If Hoyland and Zirkzee had a baby, it might produce the ultimate striker. And that's a point I will get onto later in the show as Zirkzee is introduced into the game. Talk to me about the ref, Sean. Obviously, he'll come into his own in the second half, and he'll climax on what he did in the first half. What did you make of that ref in the first half? Wow, he was giving them some real soft stuff for me.
I think in general that game he was absolutely dreadful. It's like some of the decisions, like giving fouls and yellow cards for literally nothing. It's not just this game with United. It's like I said on last week's first show. In football in general, I just think the referees are just giving far too many easily free kicks away and giving so many easy yellows away. It's just getting beyond a joke, I think. I think he was absolutely terrible today, some of the stuff.
Yeah, he set a bit of a precedent, didn't he, Matt, really? He gave so many soft free kicks, so many soft yellows. As JJ says in the comments, every foul was a yellow. And it just sets a tone, doesn't it? Then I mean, it puts him in a bit of a hole for the second half, doesn't it?
Yeah, you just kind of felt that very little went to us today. You got that sense right from the beginning of the game. He includes some of the bigger decisions, which I'm guessing we'll touch on later on. So I won't mention them too much. But just in general, it's probably one of the worst refereeing performances I've probably seen for quite a while, and I've seen some shockers. And you can just see the frustration. Like also when Bruno got fouled, for example, you can understand his frustration because it was for me anyway. It's a blatant foul. Just little things like that, and then the yellow card going to Bruno when it should have been a free kick to us in the first place. It's just little things, little moments in games where referees seem to influence it quite a lot. And I feel like I think we've mentioned it last week. I think the influence of players is becoming quite a big thing now with officials. They're influencing the officials quite a lot to make the decision that the player wants them to make. And end of the day, you're not going to get very far in football if that's how officiating works, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, that Bruno one, I thought Bruno was going to throw his boot at him at one point. I was just like, calm down, you know. But we got to half time, and I think we're doing all right at that point. Second half starts. One thing I do want to touch on before we get into the goals and the nitty gritty, and I know you like him, Ben. I'm sure I've seen posts that you've made about him. Ugarte, just that aggression in the middle of the park. It's a little bit like a breath of fresh air, isn't it? Like it's something that we haven't had for a while, and it's lovely to see a player in the middle of the park now that just gets stuck in, doesn't he? He gives everyone a bit of a nudge and he just gets stuck in, doesn't he? I love him.
Yeah, he's a nasty player without actually. If you watch him, he doesn't really say much. He doesn't look like he's communicating to the ref or the opposition players. He just kind of goes in, does what he needs to do, and then he gets out of there as quick as he can. And he's actually improving on the ball as well. I think we saw that, especially against Liverpool, and in glimpses today, his ball retention's getting a lot better. You see, the system seems to suit him quite well in terms of he knows where he's got an easy pass, where he can kind of dribble out spaces and stuff like that. So I feel like every single game is just becoming more important. And I think Mainoo's kind of not copying him, but he's seeing what, right, he's jumping in there, so I'm going to go in this space or whatever it might be. And I think it's just benefiting the whole team, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's starting to feel like a very good midfield too to me. Like, as you say, Mainoo's starting to step up a little bit. It feels like he's starting to get into the season a little bit now after his injuries, Mainoo. So, Sean, we've soaked up all the pressure. Arsenal haven't done anything, really. And we break away. Talk us through that first goal. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was a well-deserved goal, to be honest. I thought up until that point, we controlled the majority of the first half, and I thought second half we come out. I thought we were pretty much carried on from the first half, basically, and I think we deserved that first goal. And then obviously game changed. I know we're going to touch on the sending off and stuff as well, but I think up until that sending off, I thought we would have got on to control the rest of the game, and the result might have actually been over in the 90 minutes, because I thought the way the match was going, and it was going 1-0 up, Arsenal seemed to, I don't know, in the body language from the Arsenal players, looked like they were thinking, Man United's actually playing all right, so they're up for it. They're up for a fight.
Yeah.
I think up until that sending off, like I say, I think we were in control of the game.
Yeah, I think you're right. As Barry says here, Matt, Bruno saw Ella Toone yesterday. She obviously got a quality goal on her return from injury yesterday. Love Ella Toone, by the way, in the women's games. Great player. Talk to us about the goal, Matt. Give us your take on it. Like Garner's pass, Bruno's finish, just quality, wasn't it?
I think the general play as a whole. I think the goal itself, the quality bit just topped off the move and the build-up play in itself. And like Sean said, I think up to the goal, obviously when we was watching the game, you could clearly see that we were in control at that point. The players looked comfortable in what they were doing, in the way they were approaching the game. I think that goal just put us into a good position in the game. Gives a good foundation to go on. So was it like the last 25, maybe half an hour? I can't remember how long was left at that point, but I just feel like it just set us up nicely up until, like Sean said, the red card, which we'll touch on. But yeah, the quality of the goal in itself, unreal. absolutely unreal. And it's nothing more than less than what you expect from Bruno. He has got that in his locker. And like Barry says, yeah, it's a weekend of belters this weekend by the looks of it.
Yeah, I mean, it fell to the right player, didn't it, Bruno? He's as you say, he's got it in his locker, and you have every confidence that he's going to at least hit the target, don't you, in moments like that?
Yeah.
So we won it, Ben. We're controlling the game. Obviously, Arsenal have got a little bit of a kick up the arse with that goal. They've kind of come into it a little bit more. What's Dalot doing? What's Dalot doing in that moment? He can't do that, can he?
No, I mean it's dumbfounded, really, isn't it? I mean, Amarin's spoken quite a bit about having intelligent football players, and he highlights like Mazraoui, Amad Diallo, that type of player. Dalot's probably the complete opposite of that in terms of he'll give you a bit of graft, he'll give it to the fans and stuff like that. But ultimately, is he a very intelligent footballer? Not really, and it's shown that. I mean, the actual second foul, he barely touched him, and I think potentially with VAR, look at that and say probably not. But it's just stupid. You can see a mile off. As soon as that ball kind of goes into that position, you know he's going to jump in, and you know that Arsenal player is just going to. I think it was Marino, wasn't it, for Arsenal? You just know he's going to milk the tackle. So it's just using a bit of common sense.
Yeah, I agree. You've just got to be smarter, haven't you, in that moment? Do you think he can have any complaints there, Sean? Or do you think that is a kind of a build-up of the referee, as I said earlier, kind of putting himself in that position with the early yellows? Do you think it was a fair red?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a red. I don't think Dalot did himself any favours with his first yellow card, to be honest. I think he didn't really need to tackle the way he did. Like, he was in a silly position anyway, the first yellow, and then obviously the sending off. At that point, we were 1-0 up. We're in a good position. Did he really need to slide in like that at 1-0 up? Like, if you're going to slide in like that, you need to make sure you're winning that ball first, because if not, especially with a referee like that we had today, it's like Dalot knew the referee was basically a wrong end today, and he was giving these little things. So for him to dive in like that at 1-0 up, or on the yellow, I think it was sort of asking to be sent off, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. The ref was just too weak for me the whole game. I thought it was very weak ref for that sort of fixture where there's going to be a little bit of needle. I thought it was very weak. Mm-hmm. But it gives Arsenal another kick up the arse, doesn't it? We've lost the player. We won it, but we've lost the player, and you think, shit, we're in bother here now. And they started to press, and they get that equaliser. Should Bayindir be doing better with that, Matt? He kind of thumps it up in the air, and it's a little bit of a nothing.
Yeah, you could argue could do better. Like I say, I kind of felt after that red card, I kind of felt that the game was going to sort of drift away from us a little bit. Obviously, Arsenal would have that impetus to obviously try and put a bit of pressure on us now, obviously being a man short at the back. And I kind of felt that an equaliser was inevitable after the red card itself. In terms of the goal and things, you could argue he could have done better. But I think the goal itself, I think it was a deflection. It took quite a big deflection. I think it was when was it Gabriel? I can't remember who's actually scored. I think Gabriel took the shot initially that took the deflection. And obviously then Bayindir, he had absolutely no chance of obviously getting to it. Would he have had it covered possibly without the deflection? Maybe. I suppose we wouldn't really know. But yeah, with the deflection, I don't think he really stood much of a chance, to be honest, of keeping it out. But again, like I say, I thought it was a matter of time before they did get the equaliser. Once we went a player down, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think I've touched on it in other shows, Ben. The modern day goalkeeper, why aren't you catching that ball? I'm sure Alan Shearer said something about it in commentary as well. Could Bayindir just take that out of the air? All this double punching and slapping it away. Surely you have more control over the ball if you've got it in your hands, don't you? Surely.
It feels like something they don't do anymore. Like, I think we spoke about it after the
Forest, maybe.
Yeah, and it was Onana, wasn't it, in net that day?
Yeah.
I think they're both big lads. Bayindir is probably taller than Onana, or he looks it. And he did come out a couple of times later on in the game and just kind of pluck it out of the air. And you think, just do that consistently, just come out and catch the ball. And ultimately, if the keeper gets fouled coming out to try and grab a ball like that, it's going to be a free kick. But if you stay planted on your line behind these players, you're just going to end up in trouble like we do.
Yeah, I kind of felt it kind of felt like it was happening all over again for me then, Sean. When, like I say, Bayindir was a little bit weak in the goal. It felt like he needed something to kind of G him up and to give him that sort of. And then the ref, being in a very giving mood as he was the whole game, he decides to give Arsenal a penalty. That's never a penalty, is it, Sean? Tell me it's not. It's not, is it?
No, definitely not a penalty. I mean, if that had gone to VAR, would VAR have seen it the way we all saw it? It's like, you don't know with VAR these days, but watching it, you could clearly see it was never a penalty. It's like, it's just another example of this referee today, really, with some of the decisions he was making. At that point, when they got the penalty after they just equalised, you just got the feeling at that point then that it was just going to be Arsenal winning away with it in just a matter of time before Arsenal go and kill the game off. But obviously, it went and saved it. It was a great save. And then, obviously, you thought, well, there is a glimmer of hope there. Let's see how we respond to it. And the way we did respond to it, it was really positive. And we played as a team, all fought for each other. And it was just about basically trying to nick a winner if we could. Stay in the game, most importantly. It's like, obviously, if it went to penalties, it went to penalties. And I was actually speaking to Matt during the game today. I actually mentioned that once he'd saved that penalty, I said, Matt, I think this needs to go to penalties. As bad as it sounds, I think it needs to go to penalties, because if it does, then Arsenal players, knowing that he saved that, will be very nervous stepping up to take a penalty against him.
Yeah, I agree. It's in their head, isn't it? Then, as soon as you save the penalty, it's a mental thing. It's in their head. But for me, that felt like a big moment for us. Matt, I know it's a silly thing to say. He saved the penalty. We're still in the game, but it felt like we could actually get something from that game. Like, you have moments in games, don't you, where you feel like, this might be our day actually. And I was really happy for him, because he was shocking against Spurs, weren't he? But that felt like, and he made another save just after against Rice. It felt like a massive moment for him. I was really happy for him.
I think he needed it. I think not so much for the team. I think for himself, confidence-wise, definitely. Like I say, he gets very limited game time. So for a moment like that in such a big game, absolutely fantastic. Really, really happy for him. But I feel like the actual penalty save itself was what spurred us on a little bit. Obviously, we didn't necessarily feel like we were going to maybe go on and win the game as such possible at that point still. Obviously, it gave us that bit of a chance. I just feel like it just lifted the team a little bit. Obviously, you're playing with 10 men. Obviously, players are getting tired. Obviously, tired legs, running around, doing more work than what they would do, obviously, with 11 men on the pitch. I think it just gave them that impetus to go on and just at least try and see the game through. But yeah, like Sean said, I agree. I think our best chance today was if it went to penalties. I think on just the basis of the game and obviously being the man down, I think just to get it through to penalties was our best chance of getting through. And obviously we held out, done what we needed to do, and got the job done perfectly well on penalties. So yeah, can't really complain, and yeah, absolutely buzzing. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, as soon as, like I say, Ben, as soon as he makes that save, it feels like our tails are up a little bit. It feels like, as Sean and Matt have said, it feels like we might get something from this. We might get him to penalties. We might get a result out of it. And the rest of normal time kind of goes along like that, like Arsenal, the pressing, just feeding on little scraps, really. I mean, Havertz, Christ, man, that man couldn't finish his dinner, could he? He's awful striker. But before we get to extra time, just a shout out to Maguire and De Ligt. How good were they today, Ben? Proper solid with the hassle Maguire's got over his career at United. Wow, that was good today.
Yeah, I think it's something where I've done a few videos on Maguire recently, because I think it's kind of redemption done. He's kind of part of the squad now, and he's going to play quite a big part. Obviously, the contract extension, Amarin seems to like him, and I think the system suits him. On the late, I think he was poor against Liverpool, which is just one of them games. But ultimately, he's playing in a way which, even if they don't have great games, you look at them and you think that they're actually giving something for the team. Not where we've seen centre halves before who are either overly erratic and just causing carnage, or the other way, maybe like a Daily Blind who's very good on the ball, but you just know he hasn't got that kind of physical side. I think there's somewhere they're going to get the fans on side. When they perform like that in a free, they need to be part of the team and they need to keep starting games.
Yeah, I mean, is that our best back three now, Sean? Do you think Martinez, De Ligt, and Maguire? Would that be every game for you now?
Yeah, I think he's Amrim's experimented with different people in the back three, but yeah, I think last couple of games has probably proved that they're like your main three that you'd go to. Obviously, Amrim's not going to be able to dip into the market this month probably to strengthen that defence. So you're probably looking at the summer for that. But yeah, I'd probably say they're the three. Obviously, Yoro, he's going to be coming up. He's still a young lad, still like learning the Premier League and stuff like that. So he will probably come into that discussion of whether he should be instead of Martinez or something like that, or Maguire. But yeah, I think they're definitely the three in the last two games. I'd say probably proved that. But De Ligt and Maguire today, absolutely unbelievable. I remember there was a point in the second half. I can't remember if it was 1-1. I think it was 1-1 at the time. Arsenal had the ball down the right side in the box and went to cross it over into the 6-yard box. And De Ligt just absolutely hoofed it out. At that point, I would have said, "What an absolute monster De Ligt is."
Yeah.
But yeah, them two today, Maguire and De Ligt, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We'll come back to this game, Matt, but just to touch on the performance levels. Mm-hmm. So we had a very good performance against Liverpool. We saw the fight, the desire. And I think we can say we saw that again today. You saw De Ligt throwing his body at like everything, the clearance off the line with Trossard. Mm-hmm. He just wasn't getting beat today, was he, De Ligt? He just had that about him that he was up for it. Yeah. Obviously, winning the game is 100% what we wanted to do today. Mm-hmm. But do you think the fact that we see in these performances is just as important? Are we seeing something that the manager's trying to do? Do you think that's just as important?
To be honest, it probably sounds ridiculous. I'd probably say the performance levels probably at the minute, the way obviously what Amin's trying to get his methods across and this and that, I feel like they're probably more important than the results necessarily. Obviously, he needs the results to go along with the performances, obviously, which helps build the confidence of the players. But I think us looking as a whole, I think I said it even to Sean during the game today, at this sort of performance, Liverpool and today, we've not seen that sort of fight and togetherness for a number of years. Under even previous managers, you've not seen that level of commitment and togetherness. And I feel like Amrin's brought that into the club now. And that's something that he's trying to work on. Obviously, there will be changes, obviously, throughout the squad over the course of the summer, etc., of plays that he will fit his way of playing more. So then you will see that improve as time goes on. But I think the squad he's got currently, I think he's doing amazingly well to get out of him what he is getting out of them, if you know what I mean. I think just the fact that he's got them all playing as a team and as a unit speaks volumes. And I think the fact that he's had two full weeks of training now without a game, where he's actually been able to work on things, it's showing through now, definitely. And I think when people get on his back, I think after the Forest and Newcastle game, I've seen some idiotic people, and I dare to say idiotic it was, calling for him to go. Yeah, he didn't know what he was doing. I thought, you literally read it and you don't even know how to react to it at that point. But he does show you that he has got it about him. He knows what he wants to do. And obviously, once he gets the right players in, you'll see a massive difference, trust me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, before the week before the Liverpool game, I think he'd said in the press, Ben, I think he said he had 4 training sessions since he'd come in, because it was just like match after match after match. Mm-hmm. Is this just a coincidence that we've had 2 weeks, as Matt says, we've had 2 full weeks of prep for these games, and we're starting to see a little bit of a desire. We're starting to see patterns. We're starting to see a lot more coming from the team with how he wants to work and what we want to see. Or is it just that it was Liverpool and Arsenal and the lads are up for him?
No, I think you can definitely see elements in the game. I think Martinez has been the biggest one for me, where you've seen there was a couple of games where you were watching and Amorim was screaming from the sidelines for players to go into certain areas, and they were kind of stood there thinking, I don't know what to do, I don't know when to go. But you look at Martinez now, he's definitely being told to go in and press high, which probably suits him because he's not on the back foot going that way. But also he's being told to do that. So he's going in and he's doing it. And I think, like you say, Kobe Manu and Agate, they seem to have worked out what each of them's good at, which is working perfectly in there. Bruno and Ahmad, when they play together, they look like they've got a bit more of a connection. There's no doubt that that's coming from the training pitch, which ultimately is probably not going to get a load of time from now until the end of the season. But if he's identified the players that definitely can't do it, and we get them out in the summer, and then we're getting new players in, that's when he's really got that time on the pitch to say, right, this is what we're doing. And next season is when you're going to see, hopefully, a bit more of a pattern.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think these 2 weeks, not necessarily the games, but I think the time that he's had with the players, I think will be big in the long run, because it will be implementing things that he just hasn't had the chance to. So we're into extra time now, Sean. Collier and Zirkzee have come on. Now, the commentator tried to make a big deal that Collier had come on instead of Casemiro. But for me, that's a positive thing, because Casemiro, my mum runs quicker than Casemiro does, and she's like nearly 80. Do you know what I mean? That's just never happening. Did you like those subs? Did you like seeing Zirkzee come on? Did you like Collier? I love his energy, Collier. I thought he played quite well.
Yeah, I think it was important that he brought somebody on that's got legs in that midfield, because obviously we were down to 10 men anyway, and we knew that Arsenal were going to push and try and get that winning goal in extra time, because obviously they wouldn't have wanted it going to penalties, because Bayindir did early with that penalty save. But yeah, I was happy with his substitutions. Zirkzee, I weren't surprised to see him come on. I don't think Ireland had the best game today. No. Zirkzee coming on, thought he offered, I think him and Collier, I did think offered that bit of aerial threat for like when we had a goal kick and stuff. You notice a few times that long ball going up towards Zirkzee and Collier trying to win that aerial duel, whether it could end up leading to a throw in their half, which could potentially cause some problems for Arsenal. But yeah, I weren't surprised with the substitutions, and I think they did their bit when they came on as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. The question is, Matt, do we get more out of Zirkzee than we do Højlund at the moment? And I don't want it to be just me bashing Højlund here, but do we get more out of Zirkzee? Zirkzee seems to be a bit of a scapegoat to me with a lot of sections of the fans at the moment. Like, he's not very good. Let's sell him. He's crap. Let's boo him off when he goes off and do all that sort of stuff. Højlund ain't pulling up any trees for me when he plays. I mean, he gives away the ball more than he does anything creative with it. Zirkzee, just the work rate alone for Zirkzee at the moment, for me, I would be playing him.
Yeah, no, I agree. I even said it in the first half today. I think Højlund was frustrating me that much. I did say at one point, jokingly at the time to Sean, I was like, I'd just bring Zirkzee on. honestly, I feel like it's the way he's been treated is quite unfair, because of the amount of time he's been at the club compared to Højlund. The fact that Højlund's not getting the same sort of treatment as Zirkzee, I think, is quite unfair. But I feel like at the minute, Zirkzee, despite all the criticism he's getting, I feel like he is offering something more than what Højlund is. And I feel like his hold-up plays is a million times better than what Højlund's is currently. Like even today was a moment in the game where there was like 2 Arsenal players around Zirkzee, I believe, and the way he wriggled his way out of it and then played the ball out to Ahmad, who was in tons of space. That's just little things like you're just not getting out of Højlund at the moment. Whereas Zirkzee comes on off the bench, comes on and does even just little moments. It's nothing major, don't have anything major. You're just seeing an influence and something to bring into the team, and you're just not quite seeing that with Højlund at the moment, which is frustrating. It is a shame, because he has probably got that in his locker, and there is also a reason why we have signed him. I think at the moment, I feel like Zirkzee moving forward might be the better option at the moment. It's hard to say, but yeah, I just think Zirkzee needs to maybe start a few more games, possibly. Unless Højlund can obviously pull something out of the bag. But yeah, for me, I think Zirkzee has to maybe look at being the starter at the moment, moving forward, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, where do you stand on that, Ben? He just looks a nuisance to me, Zirkzee. whether it is that he's a bit bigger and he can kind of get himself in there a little bit more. As Matt says, there was a point where there was 2 defenders around him, and he just kind of outmuscles them and kind of gets through. Højlund is just man tight all the time. Every time the ball comes to him, he's just got a man on him, and then the ball just fucking like pings off him, flipping pings off him. Do you know what I mean? And it's like,
yeah,
Zirkzee is offering us something totally different, isn't he, Ben? Why is Højlund getting a free pass for being that bad?
I think the one saving grace for Højlund is that we know he can run in behind, which Zirkzee definitely can't do. And granted, Højlund hasn't done it today. He didn't do it against Liverpool, apart from the one chance that he had. But because he can do that, it puts them centre-halves in. They know he can do that. So it's the option of, right, we can't go right up him. But I think if Zirkzee was playing from the start, you'd have probably seen Arsenal step up 5 or 10 yards even. And I think that makes a massive difference. Majority of the time when Zirkzee's coming on, it's either when we're already kind of struggling in a game, which he's got a free pass at that point, or like today, if he holds onto the ball and keeps it, or he gets out of space, like we're praising him for stuff like that, which ultimately, if we had a high level striker, we expect him to be able to do all of that, to be honest. I think if you brought in even Danny Welbeck into this team now, who I absolutely love, if you had Danny Welbeck in this team, I think we look better than what we do with either of them in the side, which is frightening to say because I was Danny Welbeck, but that's where we're at.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember how long it's been since we got rid of Danny. It's been like 12 years or something stupid like that now. But I saw him over on, I think it was Stretford Paddock. I saw them saying we should get Danny Welbeck in on the free for like 6 months or something. Yeah. I mean, Barry makes a good point here, Sean. Truth be told, neither of the forward is really complete. We laugh at Havertz, rightfully so, Baz. But our front line is just as toothless currently. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think Barry's spot on. I think we do lack that killer instinct up front, someone leading the line, making the right runs at the right moment. It's like if you've got the ball out wide, you need to give the wide players that option in that box, because if not, you're just going to go back to keeper, which you find so often this season. Even before Amrim came and during Amrim's time so far, you tend to go back to the keeper because there's just no movement. There's no desire to get in that 6-yard box and cause a problem. But yeah, I think he's definitely spot on what he's just said. We do lack that killer instinct up top, I'd say. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's something we're going to. Well, you'd imagine it's something that they're going to look at to do in the summer. They're not going to solve it in the winter window, I wouldn't have thought. But going back to those subs, Matt, obviously Casemiro didn't come on. Collier came on. Rashford is apparently ill again. You know, read into that. He gets a lot of illnesses around these match days, does Rashford? I don't know what's going on there. The fact that he's not using Casemiro now, the fact he's clearly not using Rashford. He doesn't want Rashford around. Yeah. Is that transfers on the cards there, do you think, given the fact that Collier hadn't played at all before today?
Yeah, I think it all but sort of confirms that they're the two that are definitely out, well, on the way out, so to speak. It looks like Casemiro starts going to Saudi Arabia, and obviously Rashford, we don't really know where he's going. He's been with that many clubs in the last 2 days. It's unreal. But yeah, I think it just speaks volumes. The fact that is it now 5 or 6 match days that Rashford's not been in the squad. Obviously, he was in the one. I can't remember who it was against. He didn't actually bring him on. Was it Tottenham? I think, yeah, and he didn't actually play him even in that game. But I think that was because we were short of numbers, I think, with injuries and things like that. But yeah, I think the fact that he's brought Collier on today over Casemiro just speaks volumes, and I'm all for it, to be honest with you. I think since Amrim's come in, Casemiro's not quite looked the same. He had that one good season, and ever since then he's sort of dipped off a little bit. His legs have now gone, unfortunately for him, and he's not got quite the pace to keep up with other players, the way the speed of the football in the Premier League. But yeah, I actually really like Collier, to be honest with you. He's very, very quick, very agile on the ball, and obviously he's a young lad, so he'll get stuck in. He'll put the effort in, which is something that you don't get out of a lot of the players in that squad sometimes. So yeah, for me, Rashford and Casemiro, it just speaks volumes that they are looking like they're on the way out, and it looks like it's going to be this month by the sounds of what's being said.
Yeah, I think you're right. I can't see a way back for Rashford, especially. I mean, illnesses alone. I mean, if he can't get this cold sorted out that he's had for like 2 months now, he's got no chance, has he? So we get past extra time, Ben. Penalties, and this is United's chance, isn't it now? Bruno steps up. Any doubt in your mind that Bruno is burying that?
No, I love Bruno Fernandes on penalties. I think it's just a show. They were talking about it in commentary, and I think he had the ball for quite a while and all that type of stuff. But ultimately, he just does what he does. Obviously, he's missed a few, hasn't he, over his time at United? But he's so good at them. He's so composed at what he needs to do. Yeah, brilliant.
It just makes it look so easy as well. And then when he scores, it's like, yeah, it was never in doubt. Ahmad, I think, was next, Sean. Any worries, or did you think, he's putting that back of the net?
I had no doubts. No doubt in my mind he were going to bury that. Yeah, he's just absolute quality player, isn't he? He's just unreal. Every time he's on pitch, you just know he's going to give everything, and he just looked so calm, stepping up. He just had no doubts. Yeah,
I agree. And then big Havertz steps up for Arsenal, Matty. If any player was going to miss that penalty, you could have put your mortgage on that guy missing that penalty, I tell you. But it was a good save by Bayindir again, weren't it? It was a very good save.
It was, yeah.
Go on, Matt. Tell him what we were saying during that bit.
Go on.
Well, from what I remember, like I say, it was a lot going on because I was trying to cover it on Twitter as well, the posts and stuff at the same time. So it was all going on at once. But yeah, I did actually say at the time that I'd be very surprised if he doesn't miss. Basically, I think it was on my minds. But we sort of being Sean were actually convinced he was going to miss before he even took it. But yeah, the save itself, absolutely fantastic. To save 2 penalties in one game, and you very rarely play in net for Man United, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I couldn't believe it, mate. I was running up and down the lounge like a little girl. Little girl didn't know what I was doing. Then Lenny Yoro, Ben, that takes some balls, doesn't it? That like stepping up at the Emirates. I mean, what is he? Was he 18 or something? He's very new to the club. Buries it though, doesn't he? Buries it like he's been playing like 20 years. Love quality pen.
I think he knows he's good, doesn't he? I think we've seen him come into games, and I was a little bit worried at Anfield last week, and you think, he's a young lad coming into a very hostile ground, difficult, high-pressure game, and he just looks like he's got that. I don't know what word you use for it. It's just a kind of like an arrogance, but just knowing you've got what he needs.
Yeah, I agree. Like he just knows he's good. It is an arrogance, but yeah, just the confidence maybe. Barry says precision from Havertz, but no power. Bayindir made the most. This is where me and Barry are a little bit different. Barry's like the kinder version of the hosts. I think Havertz is shit, and he just missed. But Barry is a bit kinder than I am. And then big Zirkzee, Sean. If ever there was a player I wanted to score that penalty, it was Zirkzee, and he buried it, didn't he? That was like his moment. That was almost like his little sort of redemption moment. That felt like for Zirkzee. I was really pleased for him.
Yeah, I was, to be honest. I think he's had a lot of criticism recently. He's had not the best of games when he's played. But yeah, he's had a lot of stick. Obviously, he got booed at Old Trafford that game, and he got took off after about 32 minutes, I think it were.
Yeah.
He's had a hard time recently. So obviously, when it was him that was stepping up, I thought, what better time to get that confidence back that he's obviously been lacking over the last few weeks, and was absolutely jumping for joy when that goal went in, and hopefully now that will kickstart his career at United now. Hopefully, because obviously he's made it clear he wants to stay, he wants to fight for his place, which is the right things to be saying. Obviously, as a United fan, that's what you want your players to be coming out and saying, and making it clear you want to stay and you fight for your place. So hopefully that ignites a fire in him now, and hopefully kicks on.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is a sort of moment that can really kickstart a season, and it just from like a confidence level, and then you see all the other things that he can do. I mean, Barry's kind of right here. Like, he was hiding because of the reaction that would have happened if he'd have missed. Would have been massive. I mean, for me, as soon as he scores it, the top's off. I'm going like AP, like amazing scenes. But for me, Matt, that's a proper redemption game for Bayindir, isn't it? That again with the confidence levels. Now, if Bayindir comes into a match now, he can kind of hold his sort of chest out a little bit more, and he looked really emotional as well at the end, I thought.
Yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't be over surprised if he's actually in contention to play a bit more than Onana. Maybe even the next game. I think we got Southampton, I believe on Thursday in the league. I wouldn't be overly shocked to see him after today's performance give him a shot against Southampton. To be honest, I just don't feel like I don't want to like slate Onana this and that. I just don't feel like Onana's done anything that's like amazingly outstanding that warrants him being first choice.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Like I don't think there's lots like De Gea. He had all the attributes to be a first choice goalkeeper. Whereas I feel like at the moment between Onana and Bayindir, we've not got like a set goalkeeper where you'd go, oh, they're definitely first choice. No other keeper should be playing. I feel like at the moment, I feel like Bayindir definitely stakes a claim. Not necessarily to be number one. I don't feel like necessarily we've got a number one as such, just in the way they both play. But maybe to give Bayindir a bit more of a chance in maybe some of the league games possibly as well. And just see how he copes with that pressure. Because if you can handle the pressure in a cup game against Arsenal away, maybe Southampton at home's a perfect chance to give him an opportunity in the league as well. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, I think competition is healthy. I think for any position on the park, if a player knows he's got someone breathing down his neck, I think that brings out the best in the player. Do you think there's a shout that Bayindir starts Ben against Southampton? Do we run the risk of ruining the momentum of the moment if we wait until, I don't know, when is it, February or late February or whatever the next round? Do you kind of run the risk of kind of losing the moment with him?
I probably think the opposite. I think Onana has to play in that, and I think, like I said at the beginning, I think the idea of you're the cup keeper, you're coming in, that's your games. Bayindir can kind of pick up and know that his next game's going to be Leicester on whatever date that game is. And I think that's quite important. I think the one position on the pitch where you can't have rotation in and out and a bit of confusion of who's going to be playing is goalkeeper. And I think today we can say Bayindir had a great game, all that type of stuff. Daz has just said he had a 21% pass accuracy, which granted we got away with, but when we're playing Southampton, we need to be able to play out a bit more functionally from the back, and I think Onana is good at that, if anything.
Yeah, I mean Bayindir's long passing left a little bit to be desired, didn't it? I think it's fair to say. Maybe there's a shout that he plays the Rangers game, but I know Onana's been playing Europa League as well, hasn't he? So we're into the fourth round, Sean. Obviously, we get an ex-Man U guy coming back to Old Trafford with Leicester. Is that a good draw, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant result. It'd be nice to see Ruud at Old Trafford again, of course. Obviously not the best way for him to be back at Old Trafford so soon. But we'll be going all out to win that game, unfortunately for Ruud. And hopefully we can carry on with the good start to the season and start to 2025 and get good results and good performance at Old Trafford. And hopefully it's not just turning up to these big teams like Liverpool and Arsenal and being up for it. Hopefully we can kick on now and do it against the lesser teams as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Are we all in agreement that Bayindir was man of the match? Do any of you have an ulterior opinion?
Harry Maguire, I think.
Harry Maguire, nice.
I just like that he had a bit of a scrap after.
Yeah.
I like that.
They didn't show that, did they, on telly? Gutted, man.
They never do, though, do they? I'd probably go, if anyone was to run Bayindir close, I'd probably say Dillett, personally. I thought he was absolutely solid at the back all game. Yeah.
Sean, are you Bayindir?
Yeah, I'd probably agree with Matt. I thought Dillett were absolutely solid today. I mean, you could argue Maguire or Bayindir as man of the matches as well, but yeah, if you had to pick one, it'd probably be Dillett, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think De Ligt put a foot wrong, to be honest. And you could kind of pick apart sort of Bayindir's performance a little bit. He just had the moments, didn't he? So that's the FA Cup one sorted. We're going to have a little look, couple of stories in the press before we move on to the next game. Deals for Ahmad. Are we all happy that Ahmad has signed a deal? Ben, big deal this, isn't it, for United?
Yeah, it's a very good deal. I think it runs till 2030, is it? So it's a good long. It shows commitment from the club, and I think Amarin came out the other day and said that the expectation on Ahmad's going to go up from now, and I think that's fine to say that. He's a player that's we've looked at previously and said we don't know if he's good enough. We don't know what level he's going to kind of get to. I think he's shown this season he's definitely right up there in terms of quality. So now it's just right. We've given you the commitment and the contract. Go out and do it and get us 20 goals and assists next season combined. No.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, me and Daz talk quite a lot, and his thinking is now that Ahmad needs to step up and his numbers need to start being a little bit more impressive, which I kind of agree with. But Sean, Ahmad signing a new deal, happy? Is he sort of nailed on starter for us now in the coming years?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think moving forward with Amarim, I think he's definitely going to be one of the first names on his best 11. I'd probably say. Obviously, it's more about a minute for Amarim finding out which players he wants to keep long term, which players he thinks are not quite good enough for his system that need to go, and then obviously replacing them. But yeah, I'd definitely say Ahmad is one of the players for his future at the club. Definitely. Yeah,
I agree. I think it's a very good deal. As Ben said, till 2030 as well. So we've nailed him down for a long time. Only sort of 120 grand, I think, if reports in the press are to be believed. So I think it's good money as well. Then we move on to the subject of money, Matt. Reports are saying Mainu wants quite a big bag of cash. Do you think he's good enough? Do you think he warrants being one of the higher earners of the club? Do you think we have to pay him that to keep him away from places like Chelsea, to keep him away from rivals?
Yeah, it's hard to say, obviously, because you've got to look at his age as well. Obviously, he's only been in the first team, a couple of seasons now, where he's sort of established himself in the first team. I think we need to be careful we don't start to run the risk of obviously just giving in to players because he's come to the academy, this and that, and offering him 250 grand a week because it's Kobbie Mainoo. I feel like we've gone down that route far too many times in the past. Also, look at the likes of, I'm not digging out Rashford here, I'm just using it as an example, giving him a big bumper contract, and obviously since then he's not really done anything for the club, football wise, that is anyway. So you've just got to be careful. I feel like they won't be rushed into just offering players what they want because they want to necessarily keep these players. You've just got to negotiate and get the best deal for A, the club financially, and B, for the players. And we just need to try and get some sort of structure going now where we're not just offering players silly money just to keep them at the club, because then ultimately come times like this now when we try to offload players that aren't good enough, you struggle because of the wages that they're on and clubs won't pay it. So yeah, I'd be delighted if May does sign a contract. I do think he will sign a new contract. I think he will stay. We just need to be mindful of how much and what sort of deals we're handing out to players. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in that ballpark myself. That Ineos seem to be bringing down, or seem to be trying to bring down, this wage structure. Where do you stand on it, Ben? Obviously, Mainu, as we've said, is forming a very good partnership with Ugarte. Seems like quite an important cog in the Amarin system. Where do you stand on how much we should be paying these players to stay in? As Matt says, it's very hard to offload people like Casemiro, Rashford, because they're on wages that very few clubs will pay, aren't they now? Same with Sancho, I think we're paying 100 grand of his wages still, and he's down the road at Chelsea anyhow. Where do you stand on it?
I think it's one of them where we're caught in probably the crossover between the Glazers and Ineos in terms of, like you say, we've got Casemiro, we had Varane last year, we've got Rashford still, who are on high wages relative to the performances they're putting in. So it's easy for Kobbie Mainoo to say, if he's walking in and saying, right, Casemiro hasn't played a game for 2 months and he's probably earning 5 times what Mainu is at the minute. So it's easy for Mainu to go in and say, right, I want 200 grand a week. I think ultimately that's why Ineos want Casemiro gone as soon as they can. They want Rashford out of the club. And then that's the example they can say to Mainu. Ultimately, we messed up by paying them that much, but they've gone now. I think if we can get Mainu on a deal between 125 to 150-ish on a 5-year deal, that'll take him to like 24, 25-year-old. And then if he's still here, he's still performing, that's when he gets his maybe 250 contract from that point. I feel like that's a good way to structure it. Ultimately, if he comes in and he says, I want 225, and he's not going to budge from that, he might have to go. Yeah,
that's kind of where I am with it. I'd probably agree with you, maybe 150 around that sort of region. Feels right for him at the moment. As Matt says, he's only really been a regular for a year. I think he'll sign. I do think he loves the club, Mainu. I think he'll sign. I think a lot of it is media sort of, clickbaiting us a little bit, for lack of a better word. So they're the sort of stories I wanted to cover. Now we're on to Southampton. So Sean, we've played Liverpool, we've played Arsenal. Performance levels, I think we can all agree, have been much better. They've been up there, and what we want to see as fans, can we reproduce that at Old Trafford against a team who will probably kind of do what we've tried to do today, kind of hit us on the counter a little bit, be very hard to break down. Can we produce these sort of performances against these sort of teams that are harder to break down?
Yeah, I think so. I think the way we've started this year, obviously Amrin's had a good, near enough 2 full weeks of training with these players. Obviously, when Amrin first came, he didn't really have enough time to teach his system and his tactical ideas. I would say if now that they've had the 2 weeks training with the players, I think you could definitely see a difference in our defensive structure, and you can see patterns of play slowly progressing. I think the players have more of an understanding of what Amrin wants tactically, and I think that showed the last 2 games. It's just about keeping it going, like I say earlier, keeping it going now against the teams you basically expect us to beat. So it's just about keeping our momentum going now and just keep doing what they've been doing the last couple of games, really.
Yeah, I agree. Going back to the Mainu thing, I think Mark makes a very good point here. If Ineos can get him signed up for between 70 and 120k a week, I think that'd have done absolute bob on there. It'd be an amazing bit of business. Matt, is that Southampton game a must win? I don't want to use the R word. I don't want to say that we're in a relegation battle or anything. But is this a 6-pointer? Are United playing a 6-pointer on Thursday that we have to win?
Yeah, if you look, especially if you look at the last 2 performances against Liverpool and Arsenal, you've kind of go into that game hoping that they can produce the same levels of performance. I feel like that's the disappointing thing, and I think Amrin said it after the game against Liverpool. Obviously, as good as the performance and the result was, considering the circumstances, he still was quite angry. More the fact that they understanding why they can't perform like that against the lesser sides.
Yeah.
Now's the time for players to go out there and prove him wrong and show that they can actually do it against the lesser sides, because up to now you sort of go into this. It's weird. You sort of go into this, play the smaller teams with less confidence than the bigger teams at the moment, which sounds really bizarre. But that's just how it's been for quite a while now. We seem to struggle to break these lesser teams down that come at Old Trafford and sit back a little bit, soak up the pressure. We just struggle to find a way through. We just need to try and kill that and start getting wins. And like I say, more so in the league now, because like you say, we don't want to use the R word. And I don't think that will be a thing. I genuinely don't think that's going to be a thing. That's just the media trying to create stories because it's Man United. But yeah, I don't think relegation's even something to consider. But we do need to be getting ourselves up that league table a little bit, and at least into the top half to make it look a bit more respectable, definitely.
Yeah. Again, I think Mark makes a very good point. It won't be much of a contest. We did them 3-0 with a much, I don't say worse because that's not a word, is it? But not a very good team, basically. But for me, Ben, if there's a game that we can play to carry on this bit of confidence and to get more confidence and to get the lads kind of getting back in the groove, this is it, isn't it, Southampton? There's got to be a few goals there. They're just absolute fodder, aren't they, Southampton, at the moment? What are they, 7 points so far this season? We've got to be stuffing these, haven't we, at Old Trafford?
Yeah, I think this is almost like the litmus test for United in terms of we've questioned them in these bigger games previously, and I think we've seen in Arsenal twice away, Tottenham, City away, Liverpool away, we've seen, right, you can actually put a shift in them games and get results. It's these games at home, which if we don't win against Southampton, there will be hell on again. And I think we'll be back to square one because Southampton are on course to be the worst Premier League team. And I think they might actually achieve that, to be honest, because they've got some tough games coming up. And coming to Old Trafford, it should be, without sounding arrogant, it should be 4 or 5-0 comfortably.
Yeah.
I don't really want to think about any other result, to be honest.
Go on, and Ben, give me your prediction. It should be 4 or 5, but what do you think it will be?
Oof. In honesty, I think it might be one of them where it's like a 3-1, where we grab a couple of goals. They might grab one from a set piece because we're still pretty grim from that. And it'll be one of them where it just peters out by 60, 70 minutes and we'll kind of bring on a few players and Collier might feature again. But yeah, any result I think now is good for us, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, we've got I think we've got Southampton, Brighton,
Rangers.
Is it Rangers? I think we've got 3 Premier League games at home as well. I can't think who that other third one is. It feels like quite an important part of the season, Sean, that games that we should be winning, like this period that we're coming out of now, Newcastle, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs in the Cup. It feels like a tricky period, but this feels like a period where if we have any aspiration of getting these Europa League spots or Conference League spots or any of that, we need to be putting some real points on the board, don't we, over these next sort of 3 or 4 weeks?
Yeah, definitely. And also, if you look at the Premier League table and the points, it's very, very tight from where United are further up the table. It's very tight. So we just need a decent run, really, in the Premier League. But yeah, you'd like to think with the performance against Liverpool and the performance today against Arsenal that we can kick on now. Like we've touched on earlier, Amrim's had that couple of weeks to drill it into players what he expects, like positioning tactically, the defensive structure, patterns of play going forward. The players having more of an understanding of what he's asking them to do. I think we'll definitely see a different Manchester United this year now that they've had that time with the manager. Obviously, after the Christmas periods are like over, I think we'll kick on now. I think the players know what to expect from the manager and the standards that he's asking them to perform at. So yeah, I'm hoping come Thursday when we play Southampton, we'll see that desire, that grit, that togetherness as we've seen the last 2 games, and try and win the game comfortably. Hopefully 3 or 4-0. Hopefully. Is
that your prediction? Is that what you're going for? 3 or 4?
Yeah, I'll probably say 3. 4 would be nice.
Go on, then, Matt. Give us yours. What's your prediction?
Yeah, I was actually going to go 3-0 myself, to be honest. Also, it'd be nice, obviously, because I can't remember last time I actually seen us with a decent goal difference in the league. It feels like we've been in minuses for forever and a day. So it'd be nice just to get a nice big win to get our goal difference up as well. Get that looking a bit more presentable. But yeah, I'd probably go 3-0. But like the other guys have said, it'd be nice if we could get a 4 or 5. You never know. It's possible. It just depends how they play on the day. But yeah, for me, 3-0. But it'd be nice if they got another, was it 9-0?
Yeah.
A a few seasons ago when we beat them at Old Trafford. That during COVID, that'd be nice if we could repeat that again. But yeah, no, my prediction's 3-0, clean sheet, definitely.
You do know now. You've all said like 3, 4, 5. It's going to be like a really scrappy 1-0, or it's going to be a draw or something silly, just to bring us all back down to earth. But yeah, I think that's it covered for tonight's show, guys. A quality win against Arsenal. Southampton are going to take an absolute pasting, and it's all gravy in the United Garden again. It's all happy days again. But yeah, I've enjoyed that one, lads. Ben, where can we all catch you?
Over on TikTok mainly. Yeah, might start a YouTube at some point, but we'll see how we go.
You've got it, man. Got to get yourself out there. Your TikTok's quality. Sean, where can we find you if we want to see your United opinions and thoughts?
Yeah, I'm always on Twitter @_Sean Irving. Same as my name on here. Drop me a follow. I'll be back.
Lovely stuff. Matt, where can we find you as always?
Well, I say the same thing every show. You can follow me on Twitter. I don't really post as much now, since I'm on the All for United page majority of the time. But yeah, I'd say more importantly, follow All for United. I think we're literally about 7 followers away from 1.6k. So if you've not followed, head on over and drop us a follow as we try and get to 1.6k. Hopefully by, well, I won't say tonight, maybe next day or so.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. It's doable.
It's doable. But yeah, it's been a really good show. It's nice for me to do a show that's been positive and we've actually beat someone. It feels like it's been forever since we've actually beat someone. So that's cool. But I think there's a midweek show with Stu, I believe. I think Stu's bringing us a new show in the week. I'll be back next weekend with hopefully reviews of who are we playing? Southampton and Brighton, I think it is. So hopefully 6 points we're going to be talking about next weekend. But yeah, Reds, sleep easy. Thanks everyone for watching. United in the 4th round. We're retaining that cup. That cup is coming back home 100%. Well, maybe 50%, but it's coming home. Fingers crossed. And take it easy, guys. Appreciate everyone for watching. And yeah, take care of yourself. See you next time. If I can turn it off.